I'm Alexis Ohanian. I've started startups, invested in them, and met amazing people using the internet to change the world. Our generation has an opportunity unlike any other. We can create small empires without anyone's permission. Plenty of tech startups use software to reduce human interaction in the name of efficiency. That doesn't always have to be the case. In fact, Kitchensurfing.com is doing the exact opposite, and they're doing it from a nondescript townhouse in Gowanus, Brooklyn. Hello, it's Alexis from Small Empires. Hello? I should say that with more confidence. I know who I am. It's Alexis from Small Empires. Okay. Oh, thank you. Oh, hey. Hello there. Fancy seeing you here.
Yeah, Alexis, welcome to Kitchensurfing.
Kitchensurfing is a marketplace for amazing chefs all over the world and people that love food.
It's a place on the internet where you can find chefs that come to your home and cook for you and your friends.
The notion of a private chef is something that used to be perceived as, and I think from a cost standpoint, probably also just limited to like fairly wealthy individuals, right? You're in a lot of ways democratizing, making this at least more accessible. By making that market more efficient, you make the opportunity of getting, having an amazing dinner party at your home actually something that people can perceive of as like doable in a way that, sort of Uber with private car service.
But Uber's different, right? It's like more like a utility. It's like you want to get from A to B.
This is not an experience.
It's not an experience, and I think it's about the experience, and it's about really creating, like connecting the people with the people that create the food.
With Kitchensurfing, I think that one of the things that I had seen is just like that the pay scale for chefs was really, really awful. Mm-hmm. It's like in New York City, you go and you work as a line cook at a really fancy restaurant, like a Per Se or a Boulet or whatever, you're often making $12, $15 an hour. Everybody knows that the restaurants are bad businesses because you have this high fixed cost, a high rent, and you've got a low margin and all these things, right? And that cooks kind of get the rawest end of that deal, I think, in many ways.
When I got the domain kitchensurfing.com, I thought about my mom, who was like, was traveling a lot. I lived in Melbourne for a while, lived in Berlin, in Constance. And every time I was just like really missing the food of my mom. It was something about there was something like really home style you can't really get anywhere else. And I really like this idea about finding more people that like really good in cooking. And especially in Melbourne, it's like, hey man, there's so many amazing people that are really good in cooking. Never went to culinary school, but like my mom, just like, hey, I just cook you like the best food at home.
I've been thinking a lot about what would it mean for chefs to get paid more often, and I recently had to do some parties. I had hired people that I knew were like chefs that were looking for work, and they crushed it, and it was relatively cheap, and it's like, this is interesting.
Help me just understand what you were thinking when you got an email introduction from a friend of yours who said, correct me if I'm wrong, but he was basically like, listen, you just sold a domain name to a random guy on the internet. You gotta meet him. So
I have a crazy friend, and he had this domain name that he was sitting on, and this German guy is like, hey, I want to buy this from you. And he says, okay, but you have to pay me in Bitcoin. This is probably in 2011 or something like that, maybe 2012. Nobody knows what Bitcoins are. And Bo is like, huh? Bitcoin? What's this?
So the guy who sold the domain to me in Bitcoins, 50 Bitcoins, he introduced me to Chris, and it's like, hey, there's this crazy guy, technology kind of thing, restaurant. And it's like, all right, okay.
And my friend was like, okay, well, you should go to New York, because New York's awesome.
True.
And here's a bunch of people you should meet. And if you want to talk about food stuff, you should talk to Chris.
So I went to New York just for fun on vacation, and met Chris, and we were hanging out, getting drunk, ate a lot.
Bo comes in to visit, and he's just kind of in hangout mode, right? He's not really working on anything, he's just in hangout mode. He's like, hey, nice to meet you, and whatever. And I'm kind of sitting there I'm heads down working on something, and I'm like, okay, cool. Who are you? What do you want? And what can I do for you? And then proceeded to kind of give him a little bit of a hard time. And
Wait, why were you giving him a hard time?
I was just trying to figure out what it was that he was doing with himself. Like,
So like what are you doing with your life?
yeah, like what are you doing with your life? Like, why are you here? What kind of thing are you trying to work on? What's interesting to you? Like, it's like all those things that should unfold over a 3-hour conversation over like a couple beers.
You just sit down over coffee, like, let's just get this.
Yeah, it's like let's just sit down and like get this done in 15 minutes.
And I went back to Berlin and I was like, I worked on different projects and came back then in January last year and we were just hanging out again and it's like, hey, let's do this together. And I was like, all right, okay, I'm staying here for a couple of months and then we just pulled it off.
It's hard to take him seriously with those googly eyes, but he still makes a good point.
So that happened as a joke. So we call our support team SALT, which is
I see.
support and logistics team. And so Evan decided to riff on that and called the dev and product team Pepper.
Kind of a stretch though, to make that an acronym.
You know, he pulled it off with such panache when he said it that it just worked.
No. And why Jules?
I think they just like guns, or Samuel L. Jackson.
So we're in your living room?
Living room, yes. So this is actually the last floor that we annexed in the building. We didn't have this floor until about a month ago. And this is the product and dev team at Kitchensurfing. We were originally gonna like build out almost like a test kitchen kind of environment down here, and you might see some plans for that a little bit later. And then we kind of grew too fast and had too many people and decided that we needed the space for other things.
Is this where most of the development work gets done?
All of it except for a outpost in Poland.
Wow. All right. So this is where everyone spends their days just reading Reddit and Hacker News.
Don't plug Reddit.
I'm sorry. What were you doing before Kitchensurfing?
I was working at Groupon.
Oh, all right. So have you been doing startups pretty much since college?
Yeah, entirely. Yep.
So you're spoiled, is what you're saying. There's
it's
no
great.
way you're going
No,
back.
I mean, why go to a big place? I mean,
Why Kitchensurfing? You could work, right now, obviously, everyone's hiring for developer talent. Why'd you choose Kitchensurfing?
so Kitchensurfing has this really interesting crossover between you're actually paying chefs to do what they want with their lives. I mean, that's not like a lot of opportunity you get to do in a lot of things. Like, it's this new market that you're building out of, which really most people just weren't aware existed. Even chefs themselves weren't aware that they could have like this large of a market. And you're actually paying them to do what they want with their lives. It's an amazing thing. Like, that's what I find like super interesting about it. That's a problem I'd like to see solved. And like to see that happen for, painters, artists, musicians, everything else. But like right now it's chefs.
Step one, chefs. All right. And how does it feel to get up in the morning and look forward to the work you do?
Dude, it's great. I wouldn't have it any other way. Like, if that stops happening, I'll stop being here. Like,
There you go. You make it seem really effortless how you met, but at the time you said you were living in Berlin, right?
Yeah, right.
And he was living in New York.
Right.
And you were in town visiting, you were eating, you were getting drunk together, having a good time.
Right,
And
summer
you decided
class.
to start a company together.
Yeah, right. I mean, I didn't know anything about him, and I just liked him, and we only had one beer together or two, and it's
All right.
and I was really confused. But I was like, why would we start a company together? I don't even know you. But we both came from the direction where we were in the right mindset of doing something together.
And it was basically like, okay, come January of 2013, we're basically gonna clear our decks from everything and just work. It turned out that we ended up with an amazing working relationship, which is weird, right? Because it's oh, he's this guy who's you met through the internet, but ends up being an amazing colleague, and we ended up being really good friends, and everything just kind of felt like it had a little bit of pixie dust on it.
I always thought this would be crazy to build a marketplace where we can find and engage with chefs anywhere as you travel. And I thought it's a great idea, but I don't even know how to pull it off.
How do you get started? You're in January 2013. What's the first thing you guys do?
We built a sign-up page for chefs.
We're talking, it's just really basic HTML, CSS. It's just a web form,
Yeah, basically.
right?
It's not even connected to a database to start, really. It just it dumps into a CSV file type of situation.
Okay, all right.
And we just started asking people to sign up.
And for 2 months was really hey, let's set up a homepage, a sign-up form, do wireframes and all this kind of stuff. And then you figure out how you create more, how do you find chefs?
And how do you find chefs?
Through this website where restaurant chefs were looking for jobs.
So like a Craigslist kind of like?
Sort of, yeah. It's but so in general, like for people that want to like find a place where they can work like in the food world, and we just set up a sign like an ad and saying, hey, if you want to cook, here sign up basically, and that's where not only people in New York, really from anywhere in the world, like sign up, and I think this is something that made us realize like what kitchen surfing can become.
Marketplaces are only as valuable as the people who contribute to them. Chris Lynch has been cooking since he was a little kid, and he knows this new world presents some challenges, but also a lot of opportunities.
The thing that always, comes into my mind immediately is the fact that I think that they've created a need for something that people didn't know they had before. And I feel like that's what it's about. It's like, you don't know you need this, but then I'm going to present it to you in such a way that now you can't live without it. And I feel like kitchen surfing is doing that, not just for private chefs, because before I met kitchen surfing, outside of word of mouth, I had a very hard time finding new clients. Somebody who wants to throw a dinner party on a Friday night or something, what were your choices before? Catering from the local restaurant, catering from a catering place, which sort of really doesn't have a lot of appeal. Maybe your Italian restaurant down the street does, but again, they're cooking it there, they're bringing it, they're dropping it off, and that's it. This is, we're coming into your home and we're cooking, and it's much more personalized. Though we have set menus on our profile, that's more to give the client sort of an idea, frame of reference, how we cook, where we come from. Okay, this guy cooks Italian, this guy cooks French. So it narrows it down for you, but then it becomes a one-on-one, and you basically design your own dinner with the chef.
All right, so we're in a test kitchen,
Yeah.
which is just the kitchen of the kitchen surfing offices. So right behind us, you can't smell it. We don't have that technology yet, but it smells amazing, and all these people are trying to work.
We are not a regular office, so we're a home, right? This is a home, and so this is a home kitchen. And this is what a chef on Kitchen Surfing usually walks into, a home kitchen they've never been in. So part of the chefs coming into Kitchen Surfing is them being able to see what it's like to cook in another home. So first of all, these three ladies that are chefs today, there's Malika, Isabel, and Carrie. We have never met these three chefs before, and they have never met us. So this is an opportunity for them to come in and start cooking and sharing their story and their food with the Kitchen Surfing team. So they're given a prompt. They have 45 minutes to cook, prep, and plate 2 dishes they think represent their culinary style and what their food represents about themselves.
This feels vaguely like a competition reality TV show.
It's not a competition.
Are we allowed to talk to anyone? I don't want to distract.
Of course. I mean, if you're in a client's home and you have a toddler who's nagging at your feet or legs.
So you're comparing me to a nagging
No,
toddler?
I'm just saying that there are a lot of
That's close,
unexpected
yeah.
situations. So yeah, you should talk to all of our chefs.
I'm Malika. I'm originally from Little Rock, Arkansas, so I'm a Southern belle, so to speak. And I've been in New York a couple years, and literally the second week I was here, I have friends here. So they were like, oh, we're doing a party. Can you come cater it? And after that, it was like continuous.
How did you hear about kitchen surfing?
It was a random opportunity I saw online, I believe. I was just kind of looking at different private chef opportunities, and I love like the startup culture, and that's another, I love like digital stuff, and just kind of came across it, which is great for kitchen surfing because that means that the name is out there and people know about it. So I started reading, and I was just like, oh, this is something that I would love to do.
A lot of New Yorkers don't have a ton of space. Every home in New York doesn't have a sous vide in it.
Yeah.
So how do chefs adapt to that?
So, I mean, look, chefs are punk rock. Like, you give them a heat source and they're good.
Yeah, so you just have a Bunsen burner or like a hot plate.
Totally. Like, that's actually like a creative constraint for a chef.
When you pitch somebody on a menu, you're assuming they have the basic things to cook on or cook with, you know what I mean? Anything extra is always exciting to have, but you've already sort of showed up with a planned menu, so you're not going to start doing, a sous vide dish when, the steaks are going on the grill. Like, you might mess around. I don't know. It just seems a little. It is nice to have challenges thrown your way, because when you have to get dinner on the table at 8, if something unexpected happens, you still have to figure out a way to feed those people because they really don't care. what the problem is.
Done like some events or catering spaces. Just about a couple months ago, I went into a place where I thought I was gonna have a kitchen and I didn't. So you just have to wing it.
Wait, I'm sorry. So you were asked to cook somewhere where there was literally no kitchen?
There was
was
no
there
kitchen.
a hot plate or?
There was supposed to be a hot plate. Unfortunately, there wasn't. But
So
thankfully,
you're making a fire? Like what?
I had some sternos and some pans going, and
See, that
but we got
sounds-
through it. It's a challenge. It's almost like, okay, well, I met that challenge. I can kind of move on to the next thing and see what happens.
Just out of curiosity, do you believe that anyone can cook? Do you really think? Because I'm telling you, sometimes I look at myself and I see these ogre hands trying to manipulate even the most basic things, and it's easy to get to feel defeated. Is there hope? Can I get beyond just making egg sandwiches, which I am great at?
I think anyone can cook with the right ingredients and just patience. Without patience, you probably can't do a lot of cooking, and it will be egg sandwiches or
Yeah. So I know that's a blowtorch. I know that much, and I've never done this before, and I'm a little jealous that like you get to play with blowtorches, and I'd like to try.
Absolutely.
All right. So what is the proper blowtorching technique?
All right, so this is like the small little kitchen one I do for like probably about this one.
Okay.
So this is a safety. We all need that. So you pull that down, and then if you want a continuous fire,
I do.
push this button to hold it, and then
Flame on.
Oh wait,
Wait for it. Flame on.
there we go.
All right.
Now get close and go slow.
You know,
And on the banana.
I'm considering this as my application video for Top Chef. This is exciting and a little terrifying. I can't tell you, this is actually really hot.
It is hot,
This is no joke.
and you're done. You don't want to over brulee.
Don't. That's a classic rookie mistake. It's the over brulee. So,
There's
all
the
right, it's a
last
little darker than yours, but
It's okay.
you know what? I'll eat that one. In theory, you know, 5 years from now, if kitchen surfing keeps growing, there are gonna be chefs who built their brands from kitchen surfing, who have a following. You know, what's to say that the next big celebrity chef isn't grown entirely from the internet and entirely from something like
I think it's
kitchen surfing?
I think it's totally possible.
Yeah.
At the end of the day, you have to be a good cook. I think some people know exactly who they are. I think some people are still figuring that out. I know that my cooking has changed. You know, I thought I did mostly Italian, but now I realize, you know, it's more Italian, it's Mediterranean, but it's really New York inspired, because if there's a good ingredient, I want to use it and figure out a way to incorporate it into my own style. But the only way you develop that is by doing it over and over and over again.
One of the things that's the most gratifying about kitchen surfing is seeing that it can be so many different things to so many different people. It might be like a woman who like just wants to teach people, like maybe she's from, you know, India, and she wants to teach people how to make parathis, and that's like all she wants to do. And then she loves doing that like once a month, and that's awesome.
What is the best lesson you would give to someone who is struggling or is thinking about getting into a similar kind of sort of market system?
Don't think about the technology.
Like for me, it's really all about people, and it's always about people. What I actually think that we're doing with kitchen surfing is that we're giving context for people to like enjoy more time with people they care about, and that the food needs to be really good because people like great food, but that it's almost like a background.
I don't know all the fancy restaurants in New York. I just like to go to the same places all the time, and I like to book Asian chefs, and like always Asian cuisine, Korean chef, and there's something I don't need a lot more. And so it's like Chris, it's like really, let's find the most human, most simple thing we can have, and it's a meal every day.
Startups, a lot like life, can't really be planned for. There's going to be serendipity, and it may involve a domain name purchase and Bitcoin transaction. You don't know. So the founders of Kitchen Surfing were looking at a market that most chefs who were in it didn't even realize existed. They still need to work on it. They still need to grow it. And the most important part is that they just started.